We've segued onto the politics part of the conversation, which is, I really want us to talk about those statues. Do you think that it's just a statue? We need to preserve our history, Zahida?
Like Jen said, you know, it's. I think it's a much wider picture. It started off as an issue about a statue, and we talked also about, you know, the carpet and all of this. Is the underlying. This has been coming on for 20 years, and you know, if you look at the horrific racist comments that has come out as a result of this. So if you think at first, and we know we are a polarized society, we talk about South Africa being this wonderful rainbow nation, yes, blah, 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 blah. It's not really true. We unite for certain issues, like when it's World Cup. My God, let's just forget about our problems for the moment, and we all celebrate, oh, South Africa, viva, viva, viva. Yes, it's great. Every sporting event or every national event, we unite together. But then when an issue like this comes up, our society is once again glaringly polarized into these different groups, and you have your whites on the one side, and in this case you have whites that is actually split in half, because you've got your British whites and you've got your Boer whites, right? So you've got that, and then you've got, you know, your colored people and your black people. All you must hear the students being activists as they are, and you know, it's funny. This is now this UCT Rhodes Must Fall hashtag, trending, in fact, worldwide. And then last night, trending was, there's a protest at Harvard University in the United States right now. And they're protesting, you know, in terms of, I think Harvard must divest from the fossil. I didn't quite read further, but I remember it was a fossil, and I'm following this one guy as an activist. And so I said, I tweeted and I wish them good luck, because they're also exactly like us in Harvard University, students protesting for a major issue. It was trending, and I tweeted to them and I said, listen guys, good luck. UCT Rhodes Cape Town was also just recently divesting in old fossils. And it was great. He retweeted, that was retweeted to his thousands and so forth and so on. And you know, they wished us luck, and it was an activist, it was a protest. And this is the thing, students has always been at the forefront of change. You know, we are now in 2015, I was going to say 2020. No, 20
Please
years.
Don't wish away 5 years of our lives.
No, it was the 20 years into democracy.
Right.
So we're in 2015. You now have students at the forefront of change. Why are people so dead set against what they are doing? We did it in 1976, we did it in 1985, and we're now doing it in 2015. These students are bringing about change in a country whether we were fast asleep. Someone has been asleep at the wheel. Now they realize, oh my God, this is an issue that should have been addressed. So students are bringing it to the attention. Now it isn't. We need to talk about this. This is actually true.
Now, what I want us to talk about is, we know that the statue was removed, and that was really, all things considered, a great process between the students and the University of Cape Town itself. It came very late, but the council voted for the statue to be removed.
Right.
And then, over the weekend, I had so many people say to me, well, it's very nice that the statue got removed, but did the students need to behave like animals?
Exactly. That's exactly the...
Now, I really do believe that we are diminishing people's pain, firstly, and humanity, by expecting us all to just react in a sanitized, calm way when we are thinking people who are feeling pain.
And if they act in a sanitized, calm way, would anything have happened?
Exactly.
No, but look, whose reality is it? You got someone in Constantia, Bishop's Court and Claremont suburbs, you know, in and around that area of Rondebosch, calling these students animals and, you know, denigrating our history, etc., etc. And these are people that have had access and has never been involved in a process or been actively involved in bringing about change. As I said, students are at the forefront of change. And right now, these students have brought this right to the doorstep of government, and we have to talk about this. Again, we haven't talked about this. Who's been asleep at the wheel? We had to deal with this a long time ago. Cecil John Rhodes, for God's sake, the man was a racist in his own way. You know, you look at the land he's donated, so people go, the whole story about the scholarships. Oh, maybe they should give the scholarships back. Are you that petty that you now have to let's give the scholarship back. If they want to protest, they should give this. So we're talking about 13 or 12 Rhodes scholarships that are given every year. And from that 12, 5 are white. So, you know, shall we give their money also back? You know, it's just stupid. Again, we're being divided down the line by our color and by our economics and by our status, and we are calling them animals because we are not.
Yes.
We are not
Yeah.
animals. We are perfect. You know, we, as I talked about white privilege again, you have this white privilege that looks down on student activism. So why is it necessary living in a democracy? Oh my God, you know, they're such animals. Do they really need to go on that way? Yes, they do. What if they didn't? What did they expect us? How does a protest usually work, actually? Like a
Even
sanitized...
Canadian protests
Let's
get
do a
up in
sanitized
arms.
protest.
Under control.
What does the sanitized protest look like?
I have absolutely no idea.
It's
And
ridiculous.
This
It's
idea
ridiculous.
that you're an animal if I disagree with the way you're going about things is so problematic in itself.
Yeah.
That's a nice way of saying animal. Animal is one of the nicest things that I've read online about this whole thing. It's ridiculous.
Don't you know, Zahida, from an online journalist, don't read the comments.
Don't read.
No,
don't
I
read
know
the
it's
internet.
hard. No,
Just
it's-
don't read the internet.
Yeah,
Watch the internet.
No, it is hard, but it gives you insight. That is one of the most uncomfortable and disappointing things about this, because it brings the reality straight back into your home. Because at times you feel hopeful that we are getting somewhere, that we are. And then when you read those comments, you go, oh my God, I can't believe it. And people are starting now to have false identities. You do get your odd troll, which you can recognize, and you just ignore that. But then you look at certain people's profiles and you go, who wrote this? Click, click, Facebook, search Google. This is a real person. He has, you know what, but this is how he really feels.
I'm telling you, this Rhodes
disgusting.
debate, if anything, at least showed us who we needed to unfriend on Facebook.
Yeah. Unfriend.
Yeah,
Oh,
clean it out.
Or say, oh, I didn't know. Because these are conversations now that we're talking about at the dinner table. And you know that you have disagreements with your family, with your friends about these things. And then you have heated arguments and it ends up with, I can't talk to you. Just forget. Can we just stop talking? I can't talk to you. You don't understand. Because they don't. I was part of a student activist movement in 1984 that brought about, I hope, it led to change and talks, etc., etc. I know what it is to feel like that the rhetoric, that singing, that dancing, that being a part of change, knowing that you're being heard, but not caring if you're not, because you still want to affect change. Ran away from the police. We sacrificed our matric here to ensure that we don't want this Bantu education, as they called it. It's a lot of things. It's a lot of sacrifices. These students sacrificed their time for a bigger goal, and they succeeded. And everybody seems to forget that. You know, is that this was a victory. This was a victory for the SRC. This was a victory for democracy. This brought about something which had to be addressed right to the doorstep of government. And last night, Zuma made a statement finally, and also the Deputy President finally said something. It took them an entire week for someone to actually address an issue which is a national issue.
Yeah.
You know, and that's also shameful that leaders aren't coming out to support or to deny or to whatever. This is a student protest. You know, there's parallels to apartheid process here. There's parallels to protesting for democracy, but nobody has said anything in government except last night. Zuma came out and said, you know, we have respect for history, we have respect for the Afrikaner history, and it must be preserved. That's great. Took him a whole week to say it.
Yeah, you know, we were at the protest, or we were at, we were standing at the base of the statue when it was removed, and
I wish I was there. You know, it's the one regret. I mean, one thing. These students in 20 years from today, in 2030, whenever that is going to be able to tell their children and to be able to sit around a table like this and go, oh my God, I was there. Oh my God, you should have seen it. And that's how I felt. You were part of change. These students are there. They're making change. And whatever happens in the future, they were a part of it.
Yeah.
And there was black and white people, and people seem to forget that. You know how many white students were at that protest? I wish people would have taken photos of the whiteys, of the whiteys there protesting and seeing that they were. There's members of the SRC who are white, members of the Rhodes Must Fall campaign who are white. But they never got the airtime. Media seem to have forgotten to cover that side of the story as well.
Very interestingly, I've got to tell you this, that we really made an effort to speak to those white students.
Yeah.
I think we must have approached at least 30. And every single one of them said, I don't want to be, something along the lines of, I don't want to be the face of this.
Oh, the token white.
And so many people said, I'm here to voice my support, but I would rather you interviewed my black friend because they're feeling the pain and I saw a real level of maturity from a lot of those white students who understood that sometimes it's your time to be in the spotlight, and sometimes you lift somebody else up and you say, you know what, I'm supporting.
I can get behind what you're saying, but I also disagree on another level. Then why are you here? Make your voice heard.
Totally.
Show us. We need
Totally.
your face. We need to show those white people sitting behind them computers and spewing all of this. We need to show white people that this is not a black protest.
Yeah.
This is a university protest for an issue that goes far deeper than we are. This is transformation. We are now going to start talking about changing the academics, about the lecturers. You know, I don't know what the exact demographic is right now, but there are more white males and white females in the University of Cape Town than there are black.
So they're calling for 50% of black professors, and we'll see how that goes.
What's the current percentage?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but I will research it and we'll put it below this video. Interestingly though, the white students that we did feature on News 24 and those who spoke to us received such vitriol from white commenters. I mean, Jen, you'll know that some of these comments are horrific, and the one young woman who spoke to us and who allowed us to photograph her and put it on the site, she was called a traitor. She was called a waste of her parents' money. And another of my friends, a white woman who is a journalist and who studied at UCT, was called Little Miss Liberal Snotnose. Direct quote.
Now you see, this is 20 years later, and you want to encourage white people to become more part and become active and make about change, because that's what we're asking for. I mean, I constantly say, you know, white people is living in denial. You won't ever get a white person at my age over... Well, okay, let's just say, you won't ever get anyone between the ages of 30 and 50 right now, or 30 years and older, apologizing for apartheid, because they don't feel that they actively played a role in apartheid, and they have the opinion, but why should I apologize? You know, if somebody could just take a white person and, you know, the fact that we mentioning color is so key right now. We're trying to move away from a society where we don't use color. And I remember way back in the day, you know, when you were a young teenager as well, and you had a white friend, you used to say, you know, I'm going to my friend's house, she's white. Or, you know, I have this black friend. Because that's how you used to talk. We used to be, you know, you institutionalize, we inherited this mentality because we grew up in a society that separated us from people, and we're trying to merge as one, but we don't have that at all. And now we breaking apart, and we're just having this conversation 20 years later, and you said your white friend.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
And we're back to that because we're trying to show how different white is from black, how our different thinking is, and how other people judge you for making change. You look at, I have to bring Mzila in here. She is white. Is she? She's white.
Yes, she is.
A lot of people don't believe that she is genuinely concerned, but she's been fighting apartheid and been an anti-apartheid and an activist and a journalist for the Rand Daily Mail, covering, you know, the Black Consciousness Movement, Steve Biko's death and stuff like that. So she's been actively involved and quite a lefty for a long time. But it's hard to, you know, if you're sitting in the sidelines and she's trying to, you know, be an opposition and she's, you know, toy-taying, and you can't, is this real? Yes, it is real, because she can't be keeping up this facade for almost 30 plus years. Yeah. So maybe it's time you start believing her and stop questioning her and stuff like that. So there's certain people that you know, whether they're white or black, you know who they are. But they have to prove themselves to society. So white students proving that they want to be part of a process, and they're willing to put themselves in the front line, and then other white people calls them traitors.
Yeah.
So then who's going to come out? Because you don't want to be, you know, vilified for standing up for your beliefs. And that is what makes these students heroes, because they were willing to stand up to academia, they were willing to stand up in the face of protest and all of that, and they brought about change. So it's going to have to take a hero to come up, whether you're white or black. You have to stand firm in your beliefs.
Yeah.